Hello, everyone. We are thrilled to have you join us for our latest installment of the Zenphi Automation Story series. In today's webinar, we'll be highlighting the integration between Zenphi and Google Appsheet. You'll see firsthand how this integration can amplify the capabilities of your AppSheet applications and propel your workflows to new heights. So sit back, relax, and let us demonstrate how Zenphi can supercharge your applications. My name is Arvin, and I am the co-founder and chief technology officer of Zenphi. I am thrilled to be here with you today, along with our special guest, Donnie Cool. Donnie is the founder of No Code Digital and is a true no-code expert. He is passionate about optimizing processes, data, and new technology. Johnny has utilized no-code platforms like Zenphi and Google Appsheet to create numerous applications, integrations, and automations for Google Workspace users. We are excited to hear his insights and learn from his experience in this webinar. Before we dive into our topic, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. Firstly, please note that this session is being recorded and we'll send out the recording within a couple of days after the webinar, so you can revisit any details you may have missed. Secondly, we'll have time for a Q&A session at the end of the webinar where we'll address any questions you may have. However, if you have questions during the webinar, simply use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to raise your questions, and we'll try our best to answer your questions in real time. Google Appsheet is a no-code platform that enables users to create custom mobile and web applications without any prior coding experiences. With Appsheet, you can easily connect to various data sources such as Google Sheets and databases to create apps for tasks like inventory management, order tracking, and field surveys. The beauty of AppSheet is its simplicity and its flexibility, allowing anyone to create custom applications tailored to their specific needs. However, while AppSheet is powerful when it comes to data capture, it may not be suitable for complex business processes that require more advanced functionality or integration with other systems. AppSheet is primarily designed to be for simple data-driven apps and may not offer the level of customization that is required for a complex business process. This is where Zenphi shines. Zenphi offers a comprehensive suite of tools for automating workflows, including form and document processing, approval workflows, and integrations with many other systems. Zenphi offers advanced automation features such as conditional logics, loops, state machines, multi-step workflows, and dynamic data handling. Zenphi is built with enterprise-grade security features, including role-based access control, data encryption, and compliance with industry standards. Together, AppSheets and Zenphi can offer a complete solution for businesses looking to streamline their workflows and automate their processes. By leveraging the strengths of both platforms, users can create powerful custom applications that are tailored to their specific needs. Whether you need a simple data-driven app or a more complex customized solution, AppSheet and Zenphi have you covered. And now I'll pass the floor to Donnie, who will explain the use case and demonstrate how all of this works.
Yes, thank you, Ervin. Indeed, to show you how this all works, I'll first explain the use case. And yeah, for a digital agency in the Netherlands, we've built numerous applications. And the application I'll show you today is there to improve their copywriting service management. So they have several online marketing services, and one of them is copywriting. Before, they managed all this work in separate Google Sheets and Google Docs. And after a while, people working on the service felt they had no overview of the status of their current work, and they felt they had to do a lot of repetitive tasks. So our goal here, our solution here, is to streamline their process and automate the repetitive tasks. We will do this with Appsheet as the user interface and Zenphi as a backend doing several automations for the application. So they write their article in a Google document. However, when producing multiple articles every day, it becomes a hassle to repeatedly create a new Google Doc, copy-paste client information in this Google Doc, and also transfer to the right Google map in your Google Drive. So therefore we want to automatically generate a Google document using a template, and additionally we want to establish a folder structure to store these documents. Appsheet is able to create folder structures. However, it's hard to set this up and there are also some limitations, and Appsheet is not able to create a Google Doc based on a template. They can create a PDF document based on the Google Doc template, but for this we want to generate a Google document so that the copywriters can start writing and edit the document by doing so. So here you'll see the first view you'll see when you open the application. So one side note for this demo, obviously we used dummy data. But what you see here is that when the copywriter logs into the application, it immediately sees his or her tasks of the day, including the status of the task and also grouped by the client. By clicking the arrow, this arrow over here, you change the status and bring it to the step of a new phase of the task. So with that, someone else might become responsible, because now I'm responsible for this status, uploading it to the CMS, to the website. But when I've done this, I will change it to the next phase, and then someone else might become responsible for the step that comes after this step. So when this happens, your work for the task is done and it will disappear from your screen and it will pop up in someone else's screen. This agency writes articles for multiple organizations, and not for every organization you should follow the same steps. So in this view, you can edit the steps that you need to take in order to complete an article for this client. So in other words, every client could have his own steps. For example, some clients always want to check the article before it goes online, before you upload it to the CMS, and some don't. And in this view, you can also assign a colleague to this step. So this ensures that the task is assigned to the right person when you change the status of the task. Like everything in life, it starts with an idea. So this also counts for a new article. It starts with an idea. And here you see all the ideas, also grouped by client, and everyone can dump an idea in this application. The client can do it, but also colleagues that work on these copywriting services. When you dump an idea, a search engine specialist gets a notification that he needs to do research for this new idea to complement the idea with information, so that the copywriter later on can write a good article. So in this slide you'll see how the specialist will do this. So you click on a row, on an idea, then this overlay detail view pops up, and you can include all kinds of information. So the title of the article, but also very important, the keywords. These keywords that you should drop in the article in order to rank in the Google search results. So this is very important to provide with the idea so that the copywriter can start writing. When clicked on Start Task, this button, the idea becomes a task that is assigned to the person who is responsible for the first step for this client. So that's when the process actually starts. And from that moment, the article will pop up in the overview with all tasks that we need to write. It also pop up in the personal view I showed you earlier, only for the person who is assigned to this new task. But in this overview, you'll see all tasks with the person who's responsible for that step. Yeah, here it is, the previous slide. So we figured that from the moment the idea becomes a task, we have all the information to prepare the Google Doc and set up the drive structure. Thus, when someone clicks on this button, Start Task, we can trigger Zenphi to do all this for us. So the process is someone has an idea, the idea is added to Appsheet, information to write the article is added to the idea by the search engine specialist. When he's done, he clicks on the button Start Task. The idea becomes a new task in the Appsheet application. From that moment, when you click the button, Zenphi is triggered. The Zenphi flow is started. It will create a map for us, for the client, and if the map already exists, it does nothing. And it will create a new Google Doc based on a template and uploads it to the map. And Zenphi should also add this newly generated Google document link, shareable link, to the text so that we can access it through the Appsheet application. It's time, we're going to build this, so I will share my screen now. Here's the backend of Appsheet. In order to communicate with a third party, we need to call Webhook. This is available in the automation. This is the task in the Appsheet automation. So first we need to create our automation, create a new bot. Then we set up an event. Well, first we'll set up just a task. So we'll set up the webhook correctly, test it, and if it's done correctly, we'll make sure that this automation is only triggered when you click the button, right? So this button. For now, the event is not really important, but we'll set it up. Schedule, for example, because when you click schedule over data change, you can test it more easily, because then you can click run and then you manually run the button, the bot. So we'll add a step, then we'll pick call webhook, we'll name it call Zenphi. And then you need to pick a table name that should always be the same as the table name where it's coming from. So in the end, we want to give Zenphi information about this article. We want to give it information about the title, the keywords, and all other information that we want to give in order to create the Google document. So the automation wants to know from what table this data is coming from. Well, if we look at the application, go to ideas, for example, we want to push this article, then it's coming from table voorbereiding, which is preparing in Dutch. So this is a slice and it's coming from source table taken. Taken is task in Dutch. So task is the source table. We'll go back to the automation and we'll say, okay, we want to give information from the task table. Let's see, it's over here. And then we should give it a URL and also a body. We'll leave this to JSON. Now we head over to Zenphi. So when we're in Zenphi, you need to create a new flow. when you create a new flow, you should, in this case, should pick the HTTP API trigger. So we create that. And from that moment, you can create your own flow. To trigger this flow, we need some credentials, right? The URL and the body. Then you need to publish, because you go to invocation, but there are no settings yet. So we click publishing, and then we have all the credentials. It's convenient to pick this one, the URL including authorization token, because then we only need to copy paste this over here, and otherwise you also need to put the HTTP headers over here, but now we can do it like this. Obviously, so this is how to set it up, but I've already done this with my own flow, so I will head over to the flow that I've already built in order to show you how it's done. So we also have this HTTP trigger. We have the invocation URL, we copy and we paste it into the task, the webhook task, and then we save it. Then we need to give information from the task to Zenphi, and we do this with the body. So this should be a Json body, and we can also include dynamic variables with the template that Appsheet is using. So you can include these template variables, right? That you also can include when you write an email. I've already set this up, so I will copy paste it from my clipboard to the body over here, and I'll show you how what I've included over here. I'll make it bigger. So what I've done here, this is a JSON body where I put in the task ID, the title, the company name, also the contract name. It's not very relevant right now. There's no folder ID, and this is irrelevant. So this is, I think, an old setting. The deadline, so which is actually a month, and a list of keyword row numbers, because we also want to include the keywords, right? So we have the title over here, we have the deadline over here, and some other information that we included in the body, but also the keywords. These are the keywords, and we only give it the keyword row numbers. We'll save it. Oh, yeah. I see. Yeah. Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. The event should have the same table as the process. So now this one has no table. We'll trigger it for every row. And then need to pick the same table. Save. Fixed. However, when we click the run button now, it will send a webhook for every task in the table. So for testing purposes, not really handy. So I will put a little condition over here, taking one random task that should correspond to the current task ID. So now it just pick one task. ID, so typo. Save. Let me check. Taken ID, did you mean tag? Oh, it's the other way around. So these two, okay. Then save it. And now we head over to Zenphi. We've built the flow already. So I've put a terminate over here, which is a Zenphi action that so that it stops. So this is the flow for creating the Google document by template and also a drive folder. But for now we want to check if the webhook correctly comes in. So this is the trigger, and I've done a log to history where I post the HTTP body. Right, so I can make this also. So I look for an action, log to history, put it over here, and then I put in from information from the previous step, and I put in the HTTP body. We'll save it. So publish it, and now we go back. Now we can see the recent runs. I'll go to the Appsheet application and I'll run it once. Okay, that's done. I'll go back to the Zenphi flow. I will resync. There it is. I'll click and see what's coming in. So it did its terminate, and there's a body of tasks. So the first task with task ID, and gives all this information. So this is great. Now we have the right information. We have the body. We copy the body, and then we go back to Zenphi. Edit flow, and we need to put in a step called convert JSON to object. And in this JSON to object, we should put the HTTP body that we have also put in the log to history, and then we should find the right schema. I've already done this, but I can copy the schema that I've just copied in the log, and then click infer from sample, and then it automatically picks up the right JSON schema, and then you need to click save schema, and then we have a log to history again. I will put this terminate over here, where I've put in all the information as an object, because now I want to see not only the JSON body that I've pushed with Appsheet, right, all this information, but I want to see it as structured information. So task ID, and I put in the task ID. I do it like this. So from the convert to JSON step, we have several results. We provided the structure in the schema, and this is all the information that we've got for Appsheet now. Oh, you put it like this, so we can test it again. Save, publish, go back, run. There it is again. And now you'll see same information, but now like how we want it. Okay. Then we go back to the application. Now we know that Zenphi receives the right information, and we know that the bot is doing its job. Now we want to make sure that this bot is only triggered when we click the button. So this is where the magic happens. How we do this is first we create the button, right? That we want to trigger the automation. In this case, we already have the button because it's this one, start task. So we'll look it up, and it's this one, start task. When you click on this button, several different things happen. So the status is changed to the first person that is responsible for the steps for this client, and also it goes from idea to task. And now we want to do something else. We have a data structure for this task table that looks like this. Tasks. We have all these columns. This is actually a Google Sheet as a data source. It also has a column named doc ID. So eventually we want to give the Google Doc link to this column, right? So we can collect the shareable link and we can access it through the Appsheet application. But for now we can also use this column to trigger the bot, and we do this like this. So we pick Google Doc and then we set a random value, for example .google.com. So when we click the button, all this happens and doc ID is changed to www.google.com. Then we head back to the automation and we change the event from schedule to data change. It should only trigger when something in table tasks is updated. But we also need to include a condition, right? Because now when something changes in the task, this webhook is called. So that's not what we want. We only want it to trigger when you click this button. So then we can set up a condition that looks something like this. You can do it in different ways, but like this. So is blank. This row before doc ID. So with this we say before you click the button the doc ID was blank, and now this row after doc ID is not blank. We could also say this row before is blank and this row after is www.google.com. That should also work. So now we'll save it. We name this button is clicked. And now we'll test it again. But then live. So we have this one and we click on start task. It's a prompt. Do you know it for sure? Yes. Now it's syncing. Then we are back to the flow. And again, it's triggered. So that's a good one. And it's terminated. So that's it. That's how you build a connection with Appsheet through Zenphi, and now the possibilities are endless. We've built this Zenphi flow where you create a Google Doc based on a template. But you can do your own thing, it doesn't matter. I will show you how I've built my flow step by step, but you can imagine that with this little trick you can do a lot of things. So now I will show you my flow step by step, and then we'll test it again just for the whole flow. So the first initial steps we already discussed. So the trigger comes from Appsheet, we log it, and then we do a convert to JSON, JSON to object, we do a log to history again. Then we have a set to run name action step. This comes in handy when you want to see the recent runs. In the recent runs, it gives an ID, but if you set run name, it also gives information about the run name. So then you immediately know what the run was about. Then it should create a folder. So this is a step of Google Drive, create folder, and you can specify the folder name. We pick the company name that we've got from Appsheet, and then you need to select the parent folder ID. So in which folder should this new folder comes in? Then you can pick this ID in the URL, but you can also put a dynamic value, right? So now it's a static one, but you can also give this with the Appsheet webhook if this changes every time. I also check if it exists, the folder name, because if it exists, I don't want it to create a new one. I just want to leave it as is. Then this is a very interesting step, because for the template, I not only want the article information, but also the keywords. But the keywords is an array. This is a list of values, keywords, but also search volume and a node. So for this, we did a little trick where we create a temporary sheet. So this is also a step. We create a new sheet, a temporary sheet with a specified name. Then we add a header to this sheet. So we specify the first rows of column A, B, and C. Then we do a for each loop. So this is a loop where we do a loop for every keyword that we got from the Appsheet webhook, right? Because if we go back to the convert to JSON, we see that we have different things that we've got, but also an array, which are the keyword row numbers. Then for every keyword, I do a lookup in a sheet where I search for this keyword ID, and then what I want to retrieve back is the keyword name, the search volume, and the node. Again, I do a log to history. I always try to do a log to history once in a while, because then when something goes wrong, I can see where the error is, and if Zenphi gives me the information that I expect. So I read the information, and then I add the information to the temporary sheet we just made. So this is from the previous step. Then we generate a Google document based on a template. So this is also a step in Zenphi. Create document using template. Then you fill in the template, and I will show you how the template looks like right now. So this is the template. You need to include these brackets, these things, and then you put in the variables. So we put in all the information. So right now we only put in the title, contract name, company name, and deadline. 4 variables. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we want to include the array of keywords. So that's something we do over here. Again, we do a log to history where we already put in the sheet link, right? Because from this generated document, we can catch the all kind of information, but also the view link. So that's this one. Then we do an insert keyword. We insert the keywords. So this is an action called insert sheet table into a Google Doc. Then we need to pick the temporary sheet that we just made, and then we get all the data and we fill it in the template in placeholder this. Then you can also adjust the column, the border width, and the border color if you want to. Then we delete the temporary sheet because it's not necessary anymore. Then the Google document is generated. The keywords are added to the Google document. The folder map is already created. Now the last thing we need to do is to give the view link that we already stored in log to history back to Appsheet. And what I mean back to Appsheet, actually we want to give it back to the data source that Appsheet is using. So in this case, it's a Google Sheet. So I could use a Google Sheet action called update row. But Zenphi also has Appsheet actions. Making it more easy. Let me check where it is, over here. Where you can also update the record. And then it doesn't matter what kind of data source you have. So it could be a smart sheet, could be a Google Calendar, doesn't matter. Of course, when you update the record, you should also allow this in your Appsheet application. Then you fill in the information. You need to find the record that you want to update, and then it will do its job. Over here I did a special task where I wait for 2 minutes. The thing is that I figured that Zenphi sometimes is too fast. When we click this button, then Zenphi is triggered, and it's triggered immediately. It does its job, and then it gives the information, the view link, the document back to the data source. And a moment later, Appsheet adds the www.google.com to the source and overrides the view link. So to help to overcome this, I put a little delay of 2 minutes in it, so that it waits 2 minutes. Appsheet syncs www.google.com back to the data source, and then we override it with the view link. So now we'll run the whole flow. For this, I will delete this step, because this is only a problem when your internet connection is really slow, and yeah, it's not the case right now, but make sure when different people are using the application where you don't know how good their internet connection is, keep this in mind and yeah, include this step. Then we also need to delete the terminate step so that the whole flow is triggered. I'll publish it. I'll go back to the application, and then we'll pick one, this one for example, and then we start the task. Then we go back to Zenphi, and there it is. So as you can see, it's a number right now, the ID, but we included the set run name, so that should change in a bit. There it is. Now the name is set, log to history is all fine, this looks good. This looks good. So as you can see, I did a log to history for the keywords. So for every keyword, it's adding the information now. It's proceeding. So the last keyword is added. A Google document is generated. There's the log to history with the link. Then the keyword table is also added to the Google Doc and the record is updated. So the run is done now. So I can go back to the application. When I click on Open Doc, then I need to resync first. Maybe wait a little longer. It was this one. So sometimes you need to make sure that all data is fetched again. There it is. So now the Google document is generated with all the information in the Google Doc. And as you can see, the Google document is also stored in the right folder. So if I created a dedicated folder where the new folder, if it did not exist, should create a new folder based on the company name. Don't know why it's not loading now, but yeah, there it is, and the Google document is stored in this folder. So that's it for the demo. I'll thank you all, and I'll hand it back to you, Erwin.
Thank you, Donny, for that amazing demonstration of Zenphi and how it can take AppSheet applications to the next level. I hope you're all as excited as I am about the potential of these two tools working together. Now, I know you're probably itching to get started and explore all the new possibilities, so I've got some good news for you. You can sign up for a free trial of Zenphi over at zenphi.com. And if you have any questions or need a little extra help getting started, don't hesitate to reach out to our team. We are here to support you every step of the way. Now, on to the questions. So the first one is it possible to become a certified as a Zenphi consultant, and what are the benefits? Sure, you can become a certified Zenphi partner, and the benefits are you get premium support, marketing support, we get free training for you and your staff, and much more. So contact us at sales@zenphi.com, and we'll share more information with you. So the next one is I want to talk to your team personally to discuss my project. How can I do that? Again, a great question. So you could head over to zenphi.com and book a demo meeting with us. One of our team members will be in touch with you and they can walk you through your scenario and how it can be achieved using Zenphi. The next one, do you have any training for Zenfi newbies? Yep, again, a great question. Yep, we have a lot of training materials. I would recommend please sign up for the Zenfi 101 webinar where you learn all the basics, and you will see the link in the chat as well. And we also have a documentation site at docs.zenfi.com, as well as our YouTube channel, which we publish a lot of helpful getting started and tutorial videos. So please make sure to check that as well. Um, Unfortunately, we are running short on time, so we won't be able to get to all of your questions during this session, but don't worry, we'll make sure to follow up with you by email as soon as possible. Before we go, I just want to thank our co-host Donny for making this webinar so awesome, and of course, a big thank you for all of you for sticking with us until the end. As always, we would love to hear your thoughts on today's webinar. So once the session is over, please take a moment to participate in a short survey that will pop up on your screen. Your feedback is important to us and it will help us make future events even better for you. We hope you've gotten a lot out of today's session and we can't wait to see you at our next webinar. Thanks again for joining us and have a fantastic day.